Good evening, everyone. It is July 27th, 2026, and I am convening the Cuyahoga Heights Board of Education regular meeting. Will the treasurer please call the roll?
Mrs. Apathy.
Here.
Ms. Pajeska.
Here.
Mr. Rossi. Here. Mrs. Decker.
Here.
Mr. Suchaki.
Here, 5 present, none absent. On behalf of the board, I would like to welcome all students, staff, parents, and interested community members to tonight's Board of Education meeting. The board values and encourages public comment on education issues. Anyone having an interest in the actions of the board may participate during the public comments portion of the meeting, and if so, please identify yourself on the sign-in sheet. Copy of the meeting agenda is available on the district's website, and we do ask that you silence your cell phones during the meeting. And a copy of the board agenda is on our website as well. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we get into the formal business of this evening's meeting, I would like to take a moment of silence for two individuals very close to this district who have passed away over the last 2 weeks. Joy Foote, treasurer of this district, who retired about 25 years ago. She was also treasurer in Brooklyn Heights, by the way, before she did that. She was, to me, personally instrumental in helping me get involved with the school and with my eventual membership here on the board. So her son and I also served on Brooklyn Heights Council together. Joy was in her mid-90s. Unfortunately, Robert Russell, who is only 40 years old, as we all know, was murdered on Kelly's Island this past weekend. Put-in-Bay, I'm sorry, Put-in-Bay. Well, that is Kelly's Island.
No. Southwest.
Southwest Island. Sorry. His wife, Lindsay, is one of our middle school teachers, as we all know. And at this point, I have nothing to say for that could help others deal with this tragedy. I know it has been very difficult for me to hear about it and to think about Lindsay and her family. This is a very difficult time for them, and I would like to have a moment of silence. A minute seems to be a very long time when there's absolute silence. But it kind of makes, at least from my viewpoint, reflect on how the lives have changed in that short time and what it means for a lifetime for those directly affected. At this point, I'll entertain a motion for approval of tonight's agenda.
So moved?
Okay, and a second, please.
Second.
And a second. Thank you. Any discussion on the agenda? Additions, corrections? Hearing none, treasurer, please call the roll.
Mrs. Decker.
Aye.
Mrs. Apathy.
Aye.
Ms. Pajeska.
Aye.
Mr. Rossi.
Aye.
Mr. Suchaki.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Our next item would be comments from the public. No one is here. So let's move into section 4, presentations.
Thank you, Mr. Sujaki. I'm proud to introduce Tina Ludwig, who is the Northeast Regional Liaison with the Auditor of State's Office. Thank you for coming, Tina.
I am pleased to be here today, and I would like to send our deepest condolences from myself and our office for your teacher, and our heart goes out to her family.
Thank
So
you.
please give her our well wishes. While it's a bittersweet moment, we are here to celebrate a job well done on behalf of your school district. As stated, I'm Tina Ludwig. I'm the Northeast Regional Liaison for Ohio Auditor of State, Keith Faber. And as the auditor likes to say, I'm your personal customer service representative. It's my honor to be here on behalf of Auditor Faber to present the Auditor of State Award to Cuyahoga Heights Local School District. Each year, our office is responsible for doing over 4,200 audits of our almost 6,000 clients statewide. And this award places your organization in a very select group, as only 10% of our clients receive the Auditor of State Award. This award is presented to local governments and school districts upon the completion of a clean audit report. What is a clean audit report? It means the entity must file their financial statements with the auditor's office by the statutory due date without extension via the Hinkle system and in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. The audit report does not contain any findings for recovery, material citations, material weaknesses, significant deficiencies, uniform guidance findings, or question costs. But this award really represents the hard work of all of your staff and employees who make every effort each day to attain accounting excellence. We'd like to recognize you, the board, the administration, and the finance department that does an outstanding job watching over every dollar for this district. What this truly means that across the entire organization, you have both the people and the processes in place that understand fiscal integrity. And we definitely want to recognize your treasurer, Matt Muccio, for his outstanding leadership and commitment to this fiscal integrity. So on behalf of Auditor Faber, I would like to present Cuyahoga Heights Local School District with the Auditor of State Award.
Thank you. I'll just read a quick little statement. Thank you. I'm honored to accept this recognition on behalf of our school district as we once again receive the Auditor State Award for our fiscal year 2025 audit. This award reflects a team effort, and I would like to especially recognize Ulixa Rodriguez, payroll and HR specialist, and Kathy Martin, assistant treasurer, who's on vacation this week, whose professionalism, dedication, and attention to detail are instrumental to our success. I also extend my sincere appreciation to our Board of Education, Superintendent Matt Young, and our administrative team for their leadership and support. Thank you to every member of our staff whose daily commitment to responsible stewardship of district resources makes achievements like this possible. Finally, I'm grateful to the Cuyahoga Heights community for entrusting us with your tax dollars, and we remain committed to managing those resources with integrity, transparency, and fiscal responsibility. Receiving this award again is a reflection of our shared commitment to excellence, and I'm proud to be part of such an outstanding team. Now, if we can pause to take a picture together. All right.
On to section 4B, turning it over to Mr. Young.
All right, thank you very much. But again, before I start, Mr. Mucci, I do want to congratulate you and your department. And yes, it's a team effort here, but it starts with you guys. You set the example for what it means to have transparent finances and reporting, and I really appreciate that, especially considering that the BEST committee was established at a time where there was a lot of distrust with the school district after an embezzlement. Here we are 15 years later. Hopefully we're on the other side of that, I think. Feels like it, where we're getting 4-star awards every year. I don't think there's not many year you haven't gotten an award for the district, and I think that's an important part of all this, because one of the pillars is around finances, and to know that under the financial piece, and you'll be really happy, I think, when you see his financial forecast a couple weeks from now, that the money's being properly spent, accounted for, and planned. So looking forward to that presentation. So congratulations again. I'm going to pass out these Can I plug in? Do you care if I take over here? I know it's warm. I will go at your pace. So,
Thank you.
let's see here. Does everybody have one? There we go. Okay. All right, so I've given you a folder with several documents on it. So let me first go to here. I'm going to be jumping back and forth and showing you some things. So the BEST committee is a committee. If you go to our website, you can actually go to menu about CHS, and you'll see strategic plan, and up pops information about the BEST committee. A little bit of a background there, that the leadership of the Coghites Local Schools established the Building Excellence and Success Together, BEST committee, in the 2011-12 school year to re-engage the communities the district serves. For 5 years, the BEST committee served in an advisory capacity to the district superintendent, assisting in fine-tuning the district's strengths and addressing the district's opportunities for improvement, and that was in the aftermath of the embezzlement. I came in at the end of that, kind of at the end of that 5-year period there. I came here in 2015 as the 6 through 12 principal. Jim Zwisler was our facilitator back in those days. Just an excellent individual who stayed with the BEST plan and the BEST committee until COVID in 2020. In the spring of 2017, the BEST committee did shift to a systemic and systematic planning, strategic planning format. If you recall, if you were part of it at that time, the facilities was a huge part, and there were plans to either do a major renovation or a complete rebuild of the entire school district. I think somewhere around $50 million was the price tag at the time, and then COVID happened, and then we came out, and when we were able to reconvene the group 2 years later, those costs were around $96 million, so we went from $50 million to $96 million, and well, that was fun, you know. So, but regardless, the mission, the purpose, the vision, the pillars have withstood the test of time. Over the last 2 years, actually, if I go back 3 years, 3 years ago, the BEST committee transformed into really the levy planning committee minus the superintendent and treasurer because of laws that had changed. I believe that was the auditor of state's office.
I found this on the web.
I don't know why that happened, drove the level of engagement that superintendents specifically can have with the levy process. And so the BEST committee took on a heavy lift with the levy campaign. The following year, we switched to facilities, and that's where our capital improvement plan, and you saw the second edition of that just a few months ago, of the capital improvement plan. We're in the process of implementing that right now. You look at the projects around the district, they all can be found in that capital improvement document, and the BEST committee helped guide the creation of that and the steering of that. This year, we switched our focus to communication, and that was kind of my desire was to switch to communication because I wanted to make sure that we are reaching our constituents and stakeholders. I want to make sure that we are doing an effective job of communicating those issues that are most relevant to the long-term viability, sustainability, and relevance of this school district for the students and the community, and looking for ways that we could improve our communications overall. So communications, that was the main focus this school year. Our charge was to assess by evaluating which methods were actually working and which ones were not, and what are the gaps. We want to make sure that we are targeting specific stakeholders, all the stakeholders, targeting them the way that they receive information. And not everybody receives information exactly the same. Some folks like to have that 1 minute or less social media TikTok video. I'm not a social media guy, and that's a big leap for somebody like me. I'm more the put it into a newsletter type of person, which is still important considering 40% of our school district are Gen Xers or older, so it's still relevant. We wanted to prioritize by using data to focus on information that matters, the capital needs, the financial stability, the property tax landscape, which is it's just sleeping right now, but it's going to be awakened again in the fall. We want to make sure we have a comprehensive plan by working with Charlene Paparizos and her team to ensure that we are in tune with our messaging, that we have specific timelines, strategic timing with different messages, and that we are hitting all the channels. And then we want to create a lasting framework for dialogue that maintains trust, helps us inform our decisions, and improves the relationship between the community and the school district for our students, since they are the origin of all this. We wanted to make sure that the communication was relevant, right? It needed to matter to the audience. It needed to be accurate. It has to be verifiable. Contact us at any time, either of our offices, and we will sit down with you and give you any information that we can that doesn't require us to violate FERPA or HIPAA. We want it to be targeted. Again, the generational landscape was really quite interesting, and that was one of the things that we found mid-year. I did a generational study of the district using census data, and to find just the sheer number of people in each generation was fascinating. And we actually targeted one of our communications around that very thing. And then we need communication to be simple. And I don't mean writing it at a fourth grade level, but it also can't be in the minutia of acronyms and technical jargon like every profession tends to have, and we in education love our acronyms more than anybody, or as much as anybody. The work that we did this year, and this all came from conversations through the BEST committee. And this is what I've liked most about facilitating it myself. We used to have a facilitator. It was Jim Zwisler. Up to COVID, coming out of COVID, it was Laura Garrett, who did a fantastic job after COVID. We were spending approximately $15,000 per year on facilitation of the BEST committee, so I felt that was an area that we could maybe save a little bit of money. And facilitating it myself meant that I had to invest in the work. I couldn't throw out an idea and then walk away from an idea. I actually had to follow through if I'm going to take people's time, people in the community, people on my team here in the school, if they're going to take the time to make that a priority, then I need to reciprocate and make the work of the BEST committee a priority. And these are examples of, and these are all in your packet, by the way. I developed a State of the Schools presentation. Some of you have seen it. I think 3 of you have seen it. Maybe not the one that was at the Chamber of Commerce. This is a completely different one. Who hasn't seen it? Have you seen it? Yep. So 3 of you, it might be new to you. Gary and Carolyn are on the BEST committee, so you've seen it. Matt has seen it more than they have because I run the information past him. And I can show you that here shortly, and just some high points of it. But it's a state of the schools that's aligned to the BEST plan. What are the 6 pillars? And let's talk about the district through the lens of the 6 pillars. So that's what I did. 6 pillars are, I'm asking, getting feedback on revising those slightly. And we'll talk about that. Property tax education, that was happening right at the turn of the year. So November, December of 25 into January of 26. Really trying to use one message, but over multiple channels for different generations. And that directly came from hitting those different generations. I think Carolyn says, well, why don't you do a podcast? I think she recommended. And somebody else said, well, why don't you put stuff on TikTok? And another person, said, well, what about the newsletter? And then somebody said, well, I throw the newsletter in the trash, So that was the importance of making sure that the person that finds value in this document, another person doesn't. And so how do I connect with that person? And those were conversations right at the BEST committee. There was another recommendation to do a community survey, and we did do a community survey. We didn't have as many people respond as I would like, but the people who did respond are people who are obviously passionate about the district and learning more about the district. So those results are actually in your folder as well. And then revamping the BEST plan. And that's kind of like the highlight of the night. The BEST plan in its original form, which hasn't really changed much since the 2019-2020 school year. It's not actionable for our administrative team. It's too specific for things that were maybe special interests of the day that have some of the things that have moved on. It didn't have kind of the feel of something that had value. And Carolyn actually had attended a workshop with OSBA as she came onto the Board of Education, and she was talking about a strategic plan by, I think it was Knox Local School District, that looked something like this. And it's a 2-pager. It's got pictures, it's got color. Different than a portrait of a graduate, which so many schools wanted to do, and we want our students to have these particular qualities. We still want to stay true to the BEST plan because the pillars are still good, but they needed to evolve, and it needs to be something that people can read. You're not going to read a 6 or 7-page document, let alone a 200-page document like so many districts. Anybody that's involved in the corporate world, you probably have strategic plans that are you pay a lot of money to have those done, and they're your North Star. But in the school district, we don't have to have layers and layers of documentation to know where our North Star is. So that was one of the motivations, is how do we get something like this from something that still stays true to what the BEST plan was before. I just want to show you some of those documents that I'm talking about here. So, or that information. So if we go to menu and click on About the District, this is where this is hidden now. It was a tab on the main page. It talked about property tax advocacy. I don't know how many people actually, I think I do. I think like 40 people actually clicked on it and read it. It's a tremendous amount of information that talks about the history of property tax advocacy on our part to protect the school district and the money that the taxpayers had voted so that we could do things like replace our roofs, so that we can continue to provide our students with what we need to be a top 50 school district in the state of Ohio. And this information just kind of shows the whole history of House Bill 96, which was the last budget bill. And each of these, if you click, is full of factual information that can be verified. This is for all the Gen X people out there, because my generation likes to do their own research. They don't, what I learned is we're not very trusting people, we're survivalists. So we like to do our own research and form our own opinion. That came from research from a presenter who was the keynote back at the 2023 OSBA conference. Really had an impact on me, talking about messaging and knowing your generation and knowing the values of those generations, and it helps you communicate more effectively. So again, there is just so much information here all the way down to, the 2024 levy and House Bill 920 and the protections it affords. Our revenue sources, how they've changed over the last decade, can be found there. Now, all of this landed in a one-page article in the Heights Highlights, the quarterly newsletter that gets delivered to every person's home. That hits your baby boomers and your silent generation. This hit your Gen Xers. For the millennials, there was somewhere, I don't know where it is now, there was a property tax video that was a 6-minute long video that got put onto Facebook that Mr. Hartman helped me with that complemented all of this information. I wasn't going to do the 1-minute TikTok, Instagram. I just didn't have enough time in the middle of the winter to do that, and there's a little learning curve for me. I'm just not comfortable speaking where I'm being recorded, I guess, as I am now. So that's just one example of what we did through the BEST committee. Another example would be this communication survey. What are we doing well? What do people like most? And you can see here's the breakdown of the people, the percentages of people who participated, where the majority came from. What do they like? They like my weekly newsletter. I guess it must be important to people because it was named a number of times as things that people like. We know that people like stories about alumni. We know they like stories about athletics. Athletics really plays well here when it comes to social media posts. They just get a lot of views. They get sent all over the country. Charlene Paparizis was able to provide that in a presentation to us. How our community looks for information. The Friday Reaching New Heights was 64% of respondents says that's the first place they go. It's essentially 2/3 of all people. The district website, half the people go there, so we need to make sure that we have engaging, update, factual information on the website. You don't want to go to the event page and see the event is in 3 different places with 3 different times and 3 different locations. So it's important that we have systems in place that validate that. Facebook, not X, not Instagram, not Snapchat. Facebook is the biggest social media platform for our school district at 52%. People are using the district app, which I think is important. And then district and building emails. Here you can see Instagram receives 19% and X receives 7%. So Facebook it is.
Did any students respond, though? This is all community members and parents mostly, right?
Yeah, so this went out, it was just on district communication. It was in my Reaching New Heights weekly newsletter. It was in the Heights Highlights as a QR code, and it was on Facebook twice to respond to the survey. It didn't make it to the students probably because it didn't get posted until school got let out. So it would be interesting to know how students like to interact with the school district, or if they even interact with the school district.
Yeah.
I don't know. But how do they like to receive information, the best time to communicate, social media platforms, what's working well, what can we improve upon? These are things we're going to talk about, in our administrative team meeting here, and why. Here were the suggestions. They want more financial information about the district. That was a second opportunity for us to grow. They want us to continue telling student stories, which is important. They are the focus. And they want to keep it simplified. And the biggest thing here was, Matt Young's Reaching New Heights comes out at 4 o'clock on a Friday, sometimes the same day as the elementary communication comes out. So now I get 2 newsletters at one time. Can one go out on a Saturday morning, or can we reduce redundancy? That's really hard to do because I want them to tell their own story, but I also want to brag about them. And I also want to make sure that they didn't miss anything. So but that's something that we have to look at. But overall takeaways, they really, people seem overall happy with our communication. We do have room for improvement. We're going to do it. So that was an important piece that came out of the BEST plan. The state of the schools, again, you have a copy of that. You can see that I aligned it with the 6 pillars. First, talking about academics, keeping in mind, last year we were number 20th in the state of Ohio. We had 5-star in the district in all buildings. Our highest rating was number 7 in effect size, which means that students, they don't just grow, they grow at a faster rate. Only 6 school districts did it better than we did in the state of Ohio a year ago. Now, we'll see what this fall's report card looks like, but we have a positive trend. So this is all based on data. This is how the state says that we're doing. You have a gold-rated pre-K. You have a nationally recognized elementary school. We have a best community for music education. We're science and reading champions. Our high school was ranked 29th in Ohio and 773 nationally. That's the highest since I've been here. AP Silver Award School, we outperformed ourselves this year. This metric lags 2 years, so you're not going to see the effect of this year's AP scores for another 2 years. It just lags. Safety and security, this is talking about the amount of money we've spent on projects completed, how much we have currently in the works, and what the total values are in the future. And we went through those. Communication, student advancement, our communications, this is, again, reiterating what we did with the BEST committee this year. Advancement of student opportunities. Our students participate in activities. They're taking AP courses and honors and CCP courses. They're in career technical education. They are getting experiential learning through trips like the Washington, D.C. trip. We've done international travel in our world languages. We do so many field trips in our elementary school. We do career-based field trips in our high school. We have a no-cut philosophy still with our athletics. I think that's important because it allows students to find their own path at their own pace, not have us, cut you from a team because you just happen to grow as a junior and not as a freshman. That happens. Growing diversity in our minority enrollment over the last 10 years has gone from 8% to 18% over the past decade, and I think it's made us a better school. Enrollment is kind of an interesting trend as one of the pillars. From the 2000 census to the 2020 census, we only had an 8% drop in total population. That's really not that bad, comparing it to the state of Ohio, which I believe has had a lot larger population of people either leaving or just not having children. We saw the median age rise from 42 in 2000 to just over 50 years old in 2020. And you went from 32% of the households having children in 2000 to 21% having children in a household in 2020. So it's kind of interesting because in the Cuyahoga County area, based on the data I can pull, we've had between 35 and 38% decline in birth rates since 2000. And we've had a 39.9% drop in enrollment of our resident students. Well, those two are in line with each other. You have an older community having less children. So what it tells me is, it's telling me that students aren't leaving our district for other school districts more in 2020 than they did in 2000. We're just having less children. And it's an older community. And this data backs it up. It backs what we've known is true. Because our tuition population, this was as of April 22nd, 2026, we had 731 students. 510 were residents, that's just under 70%. 221 were tuition families. That's more than 1,000% increase from 2003 when we started tracking this data. You went from 20 students in 2003 to 221 in 2026. If it weren't for the tuition program, the school district would look a lot different than it does now. What communities are they coming from? So population, Valley View has 219 students. Brooklyn Heights had 214.
That amazes me.
Yeah, very close.
Yeah.
Cuyahoga Heights, 62, Cleveland, 50, 59, Seven Hills, 48, Garfield, 43, Parma, 28, Parma Heights, 22. Plus, there were 23 other communities that aren't measured there. So students are coming from all over to come to our school district, but these are the largest percentages. How our schools are funded, 75% business versus 25%, roughly 25% resident when it comes to the funding of the school district with respect to property taxes. That is exactly opposite of the rest of the state of Ohio on average. You have low taxes here. It's an anomaly. It's not normal, and we're working really hard to protect that. And going to another school district doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to keep this the same. This is the best deal in town, in my opinion. But I'm biased, and I admit it. We went through and looked at, finances I looked at 3 actual tax bills just to see what percentage of their bill was going to the schools, sitting at 52%. So if you think your taxes are going up, you can only blame us for the last levy. You can't blame us for anything before the last levy because House Bill 920 fixes that. 48% of your bill is going to other things. So dive deep into your tax bills, just so you're knowledgeable about it. But we went through that. We talked about finances through staffing. Actually, this is one of the things I'm proud that we've been cognizant of. We did not pass the levy in 2023. In the fall of 23, we knew we would have to go a whole entire year. Even if we passed in the spring, it would be a full year before we could collect any money from that levy. And so we lost $3.5 million by not passing in the fall. It just delayed that by a year. And so, behind the scenes, we have said, well, then we have to save or not spend $3.5 million over the course of this particular levy. And just in strategic staffing on base salary alone, this doesn't count benefits or anything. And it's not all positions. Like transportation is really hard to figure out. So I'm sticking to just things that have a nice, neat package salary. We have saved about $1.6 million since 2024 in strategic staffing. So for example, you'll see like this one position here, okay? That position was eliminated a year ago. It would have cost us that much money. We didn't replace it, and right now we have no plans to replace it in year 2. So that salary would have gone from this to this. So it's a compounding savings because we're not replacing a dollar amount that was there before, and they would have gotten a raise. This position here, this is your assistant maintenance supervisor. So Mr. Zerbola's former assistant, okay? That's a salary we saved in the first year. We have gone now 3 years without that position. All right, that's over $200,000 in savings, just that one position. So that's how, you add those things up. And then when we, like Mr. Bertoloni retires and we bring in, a second-year teacher, you get a natural savings there as well. And so that dollar amount is reflected here in these amounts. So we are trying to consciously not influence programs negatively, but making conscious decisions about getting the most quality individual at a cost savings to the district when possible. So this is that spreadsheet. So it's more updated than this one because I just did that last month as opposed to back in April. Mr. Muccio is going to date this, but in Mr. Muccio's last forecast, it showed no new levies on his books. So at least as far out as his numbers projected. And then the external landscape, is going to be things that we have to keep an eye on. So, I'm sorry to be long-winded. I'm going to go quicker. I apologize. It's just a lot of information I haven't been able to share with you. The BEST plan revamp, is something that, again, Charlene Paparizos has helped with. I got feedback from the BEST committee. It was something I presented to them at the May meeting. What we wanted to do with the new plan or the revamped plan was to have single clear goal. If you were to, and you have the documents in front of you, but about the district strategic planning, if I go to the goal of the current BEST plan, it is to fill the expectations of the beliefs, missions, and vision statements. So my goal is to do all these things. It's a broad goal. It's too broad. It's not specific. It has no meaning to it. Whereas, if we look at the, I gotta find my folder. Sorry, let me go to the proper year. If we go to the document that's in front of you, it's to build a future-ready learning community where every student graduates equipped with the knowledge, skills, and character to succeed in college, career, and life. It's specific to our purpose. It's student-centered, and it's talking about their destination as well as their journey into life after high school, as opposed to let's just do these things. The belief statements have been condensed from 6 into 4 statements without losing the meaning of the original 6 statements. It's just tightening them up a little bit. The mission is only slightly changed. It's very similar, but we dropped the 21st century. I mean, it's almost 2027, man. If we're not in the 21st century by now, kids today who are entering kindergarten are going to be working into the 22nd century. Okay, all right, wrap your head around that. The 22nd century. So we gotta just embrace the fact we're already in the 21st century. And the 21st century might feel like 3 or 4 centuries within one by the time we get to, the next century. And I don't know, I might be here. Talking about humans can live to be 200 or something. We'll see. The pillars have just been slightly tweaked. Rather than academic, it's teaching and learning, preschool through 12. Safety, security, and facilities, has just been renamed slightly. I think enrollment and district growth was under where is it here? Advancement of student opportunities and enrollment. Enrollment kind of broke into that one. Too many tabs. The financial responsibility and planning piece I thought was important to build off of, because I feel like we're in a trusted place. We got an auditor state award, once again. But it's fiscal responsibility and planning that includes advocacy for the school district to ensure that we're advocating for the most financially stable school district we have, whatever that means. So that may mean being on committees. That may mean, doing testimony in Columbus. That may, mean, having more uncomfortable conversations around finances when it becomes necessary. But it's more than just making sure our books are balanced now. And we did that, and then underneath each we have actionable items, things that we can actually act on, that my administrative team can sit around and we can talk about these things, and we can evaluate ourselves in fulfilling the actionable items underneath the pillars themselves. And it fits on 2 pages, and it's got color, and it's got a little picture, which isn't great. I could put kids on it, but it's kind of fits that format. And for me, it's something that I feel will transcend time. I put 2026 through 2030. Next year, we would put 2027 through 2031. It never ends, and it would evolve in real time. But I feel like for me, it has more meaning. And again, Charlene helped me do this, so it's not just my work. It's the work of myself, my team, the BEST committee, and then Charlene helping us brand it. And it feels like a better document to me. And it's something that I'd like to move forward with, which is why I presented it. And, where are we going from here with the BEST committee? That will come to us. We'll have our meetings, and we will determine what the next phase looks like after we have an admin meeting here in a week to talk about get feedback from them, and then get feedback from the committee. Sorry I took so long on that, but yeah. Really appreciative to everybody who sacrificed their time to work on this year, I learned a lot about the school district, learned a lot about the communities, and learned a lot about our communication. And I think if all goes well, I think we've got some really nice things that we're going to be doing this year. Any feedback? Just curious.
This is sharp. I really like this 2-page. Nice.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
This is more a question related to
Yep.
kind of some of the information you were giving. So you talked about like the attrition rates, we're losing families, not necessarily we don't have as many families as we used to. What about those students, and I know it's gotta be a small population, but those students that choose to leave the district to go to another school system, you know, whether it be, I'm gonna go to Ignatius because they have a rowing program, something we don't or can't offer here.
Right.
What, do we follow up with those students that are leaving and say, hey, what's going on? Why did you leave? Do we track that at all?
No, we have discussed doing kind of exit interviews with both students and staff. Like if you have a staff member outside of retirement, if a staff member says, okay, I'm going to go to Strongsville and take a job, why are you leaving? I know the board did that at one time here. They started to do exit interviews with administrators as they were leaving. We haven't done that with the students. I can tell you that the students who took the in lieu of transportation costs is less this year than last year. I think we went from like almost 30, and we're under 20 this year. So I don't know that we have as many students who, families that are going to the private school, last year into this year. A lot of students are leaving through the tuition program because they just can't afford the cost. That's the biggest thing right now, is we've had families who's like, we're just gonna go to our home school district now because we can't afford the $6,500, and quite honestly, they don't qualify for a voucher. And that's, I'm not gonna go into that. Everybody qualifies for something, but some don't qualify for what they need. But we have talked about doing exit interviews with students in the
'Cause
past.
I'd be kind of curious just.
To know why.
Outside of the tuition students, the ones that they're paying their taxes to go, as residents of one of the 3 communities, why would those people move away from a district that's this,
Yep.
Informally.
Informally, I can tell you informally that, and I think these are spot on. I have some students who are legacy students. Their parent or both parents or, important person in their life went to that school, and so it's a legacy situation for them. The sports thing is really important. Hockey was was huge, right? Not having a hockey team. Now the legislature's changed those rules, so we've had a couple students who still go to school here but play hockey for another school district. That's permitted now, as opposed to just losing that student altogether. And some with athletics think that they have a better opportunity to get a Division I scholarship than they do here. And yet others, sometimes students just need a new start, and I think that's important too. It's one of the challenges of a small school district is that once you get in a cohort of students, you tend to be with that same cohort in 3rd grade, and then 4th grade, and then 5th grade, and then 6th grade. I don't mean to be redundant. You don't really get a chance to break free until you get to high school. And depending on, what some of those social dynamics were, sometimes it's a good opportunity to just say, I need a fresh start. And that has been communicated to me as well. I can't tell you the percentage. I can't tell you, whether that has stayed stagnant or if it's changed over time. But I think doing a survey, when we find out students aren't coming back, I think asking, they can always say no. But if we could put together a survey, could have Charlene put together something for me it's confidential, but just gives us information, I think that would be really important. So that's good feedback.
Thank you for taking the time to put this together. This is my 3rd time seeing it, so it's nice seeing how it becomes refined. And I would say this is one of my most preferred ways of communication, actually internalizing it, is your presentations, or just presentations in general. question. When you talked about finance, you really honed in on the advocacy piece, but you don't have that word necessarily.
It's under monitor changes in laws impacting school finances. It's the last piece. So when you see laws are going to be changing, it's kind of the expectation if we're going to be actionable. I could add advocacy as a piece to that. It's just a call to Charlene. She was kind of waiting for this meeting before she starts, like, putting her stamp on it.
It just seemed like a word, like a concept to attach.
Yeah, and it was something that we discussed, that as laws change, we need to be responsive to the laws. And if that means joining professional organizations or actually doing work ourselves, I think that is important. But we also have to understand what our lane is, because if we don't speak to facts, and if we're not speaking to our own school district and how those facts influence our school district, then we can get ourselves in a little trouble. So we have to make sure that we're talking about information that, is what would they call it, a public, is it public interest, or so. But if advocacy is something, a word that I could add, I can certainly do it.
And then aside from this living on the website, what is your plan for?
One of the things that, well, first of all, it's going to be actionable within our administrative team. We're going to be meeting and talking about these things quite frequently, to the point that, like, for example, when I do my state of the schools, it will be aligned to this. I was telling Mr. Dutray, I'm going to ask once a month for him to provide me with an update from the middle school, high school that I can put in my weekly update to the board, just like Mr. Zabola does with facilities. I'm going to ask my principals to do that. I'm going to ask my assistant superintendent to do that, and I want it to align to this. So I want to know what's going on in your school district with respect to teaching and learning and these action steps. Not because I'm evaluating you on what you're doing. I just want to, let's quantify everything that we're doing, because we do so much here, and let's report out on it, and let's brag about our people, and let's identify where our growth opportunities are. Charlene has wanted me to work with Mr. Hartman to do like a 6-part video series where I spend like 1 minute on each of those pillars and why it's important and what we're doing here, so I can communicate it out. It's a great concept. I want to make sure that it's not a strategic plan for the sake of being a strategic plan. I need it to have far-reaching meaning. What's the purpose? Why are you rolling this out now? Because people will be skeptic. What is this all about? And I want to make sure that it honors the history of what the best committee is, but also gives us a North Star for what the future of this school district needs to be. And I want to make sure I tell that story appropriately. So those are the three big things right now that it would be used for. Did I give you 3? I think I gave you 3. And if I only gave 2, I apologize. It was a very productive year. I think for 2 years in a row, we've done something that has at least made our work, or my work, between the capital improvement plan that we developed a year ago, and then this document here gives me something that informs decisions and allows us to calibrate ourselves in a more meaningful way than a 200-page document would, or something that is more static like the old plan was. So, anything
Okay.
else?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Even for somebody who's been on that committee for 15 years, I still found a few things that I could learn.
It's as long as you go in with an open mind, that there's a lot of good information and a lot of new ideas, and I have found the last 2 years to be extremely impactful for me professionally. So thanks to everybody who participated.
Good, good. Okay, so moving into section 5, treasurer's business, 5, 6, and so on.
Thank you. I ask for items 5A, 6A through 6D for approval tonight in the consent agenda.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion for those items, please.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Pacheska, second by Mr. Rossi. Just moving down the line.
6A is going to be our fiscal year information, and let me dive into this for a little bit. So, I don't know if you want to trade or...
Just tell me what to open, or you can trade. Yep, yep, trade back.
Awesome. So if everybody looks at 6A, we have our fiscal year 2026 summary. And we can see our total revenue, $21,986,480 and change. Total expenses would be $18,912,739 and change, which gives us a surplus of $3,073,748.90. So you can see our beginning balance, 14.1 million, plus our surplus of 3 million, gives us an ending balance for the year of $17,244,816 and change. If we come down here to our history, we can see back in fiscal 10, we had a deficit, fiscal 11 deficit, fiscal 12 deficit. Then we started turning that around, 13, 14, 15, and so forth. Until we got to fiscal 24, we had 12 years of surpluses. Now, fiscal 25, we had a deficit of 3.1 million, but there's a note there. We did a transfer of $4 million from the general fund to the permanent improvement fund because of the cash carryover that we had. That's when the state was looking at our percentage right here of cash to expenditures, and they were saying that, in their eyes, 40% was reasonable. In our eyes, that wasn't the case, and that was one of the pieces that we advocated against. So we can see that that brought us down to 63%. Right now with fiscal 26, the $3 million surplus, we're back up to 91%. So we're just letting it naturally exist where it should be. If I talk about our general fund, closing at 17,244,000 is one of the highest amounts that it's been since I've been here. So in fiscal 19, we were at 13.8, fiscal 20, 14.8, fiscal 21, 15.9, fiscal 22, 16 million, fiscal 23, 16.4 million, fiscal 24, 17.3, which was the highest. Fiscal 25, we dipped down because of the transfer to 14.1, and now we're back up to 17.2. So basically at our high point in the general fund, which just positions us in a spot of financial strength for the district. If we come here to our lead sheet, and I'll touch base more on this, but this is just the general fund, and again, everything, if you guys were to open this on your screens here, we have our total column right there, and it reflects where we were with our beginning budget in column S, then our October forecast, October of 25, February 26 forecast, what ended up being our ending budget. So I highlight that, but I wanted to give an overview of all of our funds, because that was just the general fund. So if we open C, T2C, story for the year. So it talks about our funds, beginning balances, any prior year encumbrances in column C. D would be those beginning unencumbered balances. E through L would be our estimated resources that we tell the county how much we're estimating revenue to come in at. We have our total revenues in M. Then we have all of our appropriations that are board approved whenever we change something. We have a tick mark here, audit term. So A, down here to A, reflects why we did that change. B, and so forth, all along the way. Yep.
Just a quick question. I did ask you earlier, does this reflect the error that the county made?
Yep.
And the money that that will be recovered or was recovered from it? So that's been factored into all this?
Yep.
Okay.
So total revenues reflect our total amount of revenue that we brought in, $21,986,488. And then we have our expenditures over here, column U, $18,912,739.42. You can imagine how many times I triple check these over and over and over again. So this is our ending cash of 17.2 million. Now, overall, so that's general fund, very top. And we have the total of all of our funds here. We come down here to all funds, the total 24.9 million. And just for historical reference, that's the highest we've ever been since I've been here. So back in fiscal 19, we were at 17.5. Fiscal 20 was 18.5. Fiscal 21 was 20.1 million. Fiscal 22 was 20.9 million. Fiscal 23 was 20.9 million. Fiscal 24 was 21.6 million. Fiscal 25 was 22.9 million. And fiscal 26 is 24.9 million. So this is our strongest financial position since I've been here. So we are looking very good at the moment for Cuyahoga Heights Schools. Now diving into our general fund, and we'll take a look at kind of all these. So again, our lead sheet that we have here, which is T2D, it represents the 5-year, the new financial forecast. So we have all of our revenue, and we'll go through it, next month when we look at the financial forecast in detail. But again, row 2 is going to be our property taxes. And Mr. Young was asking about the air that we're getting from Cuyahoga County. Yes, that's factored in because that would be actual revenue that we've received January, February, and March. And then we have all of our different lines that come out. Exit out of here, then we go into the individual sheets. So we can look at our tax revenue sheet that we have here, which is T2E. So all these little boxes represent time periods in which I'm expecting money to come in for us. The blue are general property taxes, so class 1 and 2, and we'll touch base on this more in the financial forecast when we go there. But you can see from my estimate to here, 11.9, we hit 12.5. Came in a little lower here, but there's some nuance there. Went a little over here as we go. So we can see the numbers that come in, and again, they trace to our lead sheet, and then we have some definitions down here, color-coded, just to give some more context. Unrestricted and restricted state aid as we close the year. Kind of spot on with our estimates for what we saw all across the board. We come down here to all of the revenue. I did want to point out a couple things on this sheet. So if you guys were to open it up on your computer or look here, it's going to be T2G. And what I want to point out, hey Matt, this is frozen. I don't know if you want to take a look. But if we look at row 6 and 7, so that's going to be interest on our investments. So the red one's going to be Red Tree, and the blue one is Star Ohio. And we put a certain portion of our cash into each of those investments. And if we remember the prior years, we got over $1 million. It was kind of a game I was playing to try to generate it and see how much if I can hit that bar. We didn't quite get there now. It's still frozen now. My PDF.
Close
So-
out of it and try again, because mine works.
It's giving me something at the bottom.
AI is trying to take over his computer.
Oh, Skynet. It really is. So, but we brought in for revenue. So we brought in
Sidebar there.
944,000. So close to the $1 million I was trying to get us. And there's some other factors that came into play. Advances from the county, the $2 million that we were recouping back that we didn't have kind of from the get-go. But I'm still happy with the 944,000 just for our money sitting in the bank that we brought in, generated here to the district. Going to expenditures, personnel services that we have. Our budget was 11.1 million. Mr. Young was talking about all that nuance that we have with different positions. We came in at 94.3% expenditures. And we can look at each one of these kind of line items that we have here, certified, classified along the way. You know, we try to go heavy with our grants and certified. We have 3 people that we utilize our grant funds title and idea for that we try to save on. So, I mean, we can see each one of these line items as we go. You know, benefits that we have here, T2I. You know, the one line item I was pretty nervous about the entire year would be our medical insurance, row 9. And we're with Suburban Health Consortium, so just not sure where health insurance is going along the way, but we only hit 93% of our budget, so we came in at 2.3, budget was about 2.5, so I'm still happy that we came in lower there. If anybody's curious on any expenditures, we can go into personnel services or supplies and materials and see each one of the line items and how much we spent on any of those object codes as we went along the way. Aside from the general fund, we have our athletic fund. You know, if there are any questions on revenue, we can open the revenue sheet that we see here, which is T2O. And we can see all the year-long activity. And we can see that the Trinity field rental that we brought in for Trinity coming to our school district, $22,500. And we utilized a lot of those funds on the new scoreboard that we saw out there. You know, we have our billboard money on row 12 that we can see, and we're in year 2 of that 15-year agreement. The agreement expires in 2038. We bring in $305,000 every year, and that's really helped us out with funding the bleachers and the stadium lights and other projects that we have. Our expenditures for athletics, if we were to open T2P, it's going to break down a lot of our expenses for the year. And this is on cash basis too, so we're not factoring in accruals or encumbrances along the way, but just cash at the moment. So we can see row 10, the Hillside Stabilization Project, we paid that out, majority in September. The stadium light poles for row 12, we paid that out, they completed that project in June, $133,000. We have the bleachers, we got the aluminum ones, the temporary ones for the North Gym on row 13. The scoreboard is row 5. We got that donation from the athletic boosters, that negative $7,600 in the month of May. And then if we were to flip down, we can see each sport and the budgets that they had for baseball and soccer and football and wrestling. If I close out of here, permanent improvement fund. So we can see what makes up our revenue in T2Q for the whole year. So we have, for the first 2 rows, our old, I don't want to say old, but our existing Charter Steel agreements, and those definitions are down here in the first 2 kind of large boxes, and then we come to the middle, which is going to be our revenue for our levy, and it comes at different times during the year. Rows 8 and 9 would be new agreements that we board approved around 2022, which just came into effect, and those expire around fiscal year 40. But this kind of tells our story of the whole year of all of our revenue and all the detail down here of what it is, each one of these amounts. I will note that there's something called the set-aside requirement that school districts have to comply with every year. And we do, and we did. Just means that schools have to set aside a certain amount of cash for permanent improvements. So if you have a levy, you're even better off as opposed to some others that wouldn't have that. All of our expenditures for our permanent improvement fund would be the next spreadsheet, which is T2R. And we have those 3 accounts in the 003 fund. So the sub-accounts would be our PI fund, so for boilers. Then we have our tech fund for laptops and whatnot. And then we have our vehicles for the last one. We didn't spend anything on vehicles. We can see what we spent for the tech fund along the way because we have the descriptions above. And we can see all the payouts at different times for all of our large-scale projects that we have. Fire alarm and security project, the roofing project as we went, the gutters, as we went along the way. Then I'll just kind of wrap up with, oh, there's a question, yeah.
On the PI fund?
Yes.
Revenue,
Revenue, yep,
just two of the lines, can you explain what they are?
absolutely,
The charter steel incentive agreement
yep.
in the community reinvestment area agreement?
Yes, so 1 and 2, along with 8 and 9, are kind of similar to each other. So 1 and 2 refer to these boxes down here. And
Oh,
1 is going to be for property tax compensation, and the other is going to be for payroll income revenue that we have. And I tried to do little sentences above each one of these to kind of reflect what it is that they are. So, let's see, as I come up here, so let's stand and block it, but, so these two right here, see those amounts that I blew? So this connects with this, and then we have a description of what it is. This one right here connects with this, and we have a description of what it is in prior years for what we received in the time period in which we received it. We come down to these two amounts for rows 8 and 9. Now this one right here is 21. The first year of starting that one, and the 19,000 is the first year of starting that. And again, we have the whole description, and each of these are calculated in a certain way. So the payroll income revenue are similar in how they're calculated, property tax as well, what we have. And then we come down here to the CRA with NEDIC, and we board approved that back in 2019 for 15 years. We get a certain amount, and that's this amount right here that goes with the CRA. Now that was cut in half essentially because our legal counsel had the recommendation that we should only bill Brooklyn Heights half because the county's still going to true up on that error that they were trying to fix. So we're going to work on the calculation after. So I talked with their finance director, and they were completely fine with that.
thank you.
Yep. And then the last sheet I just wanted to highlight would be our grants, our federal grants, and that's going to be T2Y. So we have 2 sheets here, and I know it's pretty hard, almost have to make it a little larger to see. But the top sheet is going to be fiscal 26, and the second one is fiscal 25, so just to give some context. And we can see that we use for our IDEA grant, we use that on 2 employees that we have here for the district, salaries and benefits, Laura Butler and Zach Norenberg. And the total amount of the grant on the far right was $162,000. We ended up spending $154,000, but not to worry because you can carry those funds over to the following year, which is what we're going to do. For our title, our next biggest grant, $70,428 and change. And we spent the large portion of that on salary for Jessica Dindia that we have down in the elementary school. And we had spent $68,192.83, which amounts to about 96% of that grant. But not to worry, because those excess funds are going to carry over to prior year that we have. So just a lot of detail wrapped up in all of this too. But it tells the story, and if anybody's curious on any of these things, you can go in there and just kind of drill down to the details. So any questions before I move on as we close the fiscal year? Yeah, so I just, again, want to highlight that, you know, from a financial standpoint, we had a favorable year, but there's a lot of, you know, nuance that goes into why that was favorable that we had. So again, we recouped that $2 million, which came into a certain period of time for that year. Mr. Young was talking about differences in positions, like if Bertoloni leaves and we fill that position with a newer staff member who's not quite at the top end of the salary schedule. So a lot of those examples that we have along the way. Plus, I keep trying to, you know, tell everybody, just because the budget says a number doesn't mean you have to spend everything in the budget. So I try to make that well known, that yes, the budget will say this, but you don't have to spend everything. Needs and wants, needs and wants. So, you know, we want to address all the needs for the students that we have here. Wants, let's just be reasonable with those as we go along the way. And I think that's kind of been working with everybody that we have here. All right, so moving on, 6B, new vendors. We just have a few of those. We have the Ballman Orchards, that's for apples for cafeteria. Food Service Fund, approximately $1,000 for the year. CMP Communications, we had board approved that at our prior meeting. That's the Charlene Paparizos Public Relations Company. Ed Puzzle is going to be for elementary and middle school video lesson software, coming from the general fund, $3,350. Ethnic Artwork Incorporated, that's for our Hall of Fame fundraiser. Track merch sales that we had, $3,500 from our 022 fund. We have NAICS, which is our credit card company for vending machines. For the general fund, we have to pay a fee for that. It's approximately $300 from the general fund. TechTown, special education student software, $3,750 from the general fund. MRG exams, that would be for any necessary independent medical evaluations from the general fund, approximately $2,000. And we have Matt, that's your math supplemental text, that,
Zaner Blazer.
yep, for $6,450 from the general fund. Continuing on, we have purchase orders over $5,000, and I'm going to share some of the talking with us, Mr. Hartman, once we get to the second half of the sheet. He'll be able to touch base on those. For the first half, we have Mr. Zabol's recommendation for Jackson Comfort Systems. That's to replace the elementary school
It's a repair.
air conditioner in the music
Repair.
room area, $10,569.96. North Coast two-way radio, that's Bart Hahn's recommendation for bus radio dispatch for the year, $5,616. SC Strategic Solutions, that's for our requisition time clock, Ippy Dippy, AR invoices, and our check printing software, $12,695. We have LLA Therapy, that's going to be therapy services, year 2 of a 2-year agreement, Mr. Burek, for $84,161. And then, Matt, if you want to go through 5 through 11.
Sure. So these are mostly going to be about Neonet, and part of it is going to be our services that we get through them. The first one, monthly SIP services. This is for phone services. We no longer go through AT&T through phones. We now go through them digitally. Cisco-hosted voice services and voice cluster. That's the hardware that facilitates. This is our 3rd year of a deal with them, and this is because we chose to go through Neonet instead of buying the server and hosting it ourselves. It would have been around $60,000 if we had purchased it instead of just having it hosted, and then after that we would have had to buy a new one. So it's just nicer to be hosted at Neonet. Our membership fee, our hosted offsite backups, this is for backing up all of the data that our district generates and is hosted there now. Frontline services, this is for grade books, student information systems, and other vending hosting services. And the other two are Xerox. Those are related to our copier leases. That is for one for the leases for the actual physical machines, and then the other one is our monthly per copy cost. It's roughly 10 cents for color and a penny for black and white copies.
Thank you.
Yep.
And the last thing would just be a few then and now certificates that we have for approval. Just indicating when we were switching over to the new fiscal year, sometimes there's a timing issue where we put something on and board approved the purchase order around the same time as the invoice. But I ask for those items for approval tonight.
Okay, any questions or discussion from board members? Hearing none, treasurer call the roll.
Ms. Pajeska?
Aye.
Mr. Rossi?
Aye.
Mrs. Apathy?
Aye.
Mrs. Decker?
Aye.
Mr. Souchaki?
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Treasurer discussion and comment.
Yep, just 2 quick items. First one, 8A, would be our financial forecast, which was called the 5-year forecast. So our plan would be to review the forecast at our first August Board of Education meeting, which would be August 10th, and then 2 weeks later to approve it at our second August Board of Education meeting. And this is a new filing date by the state. So. And the second item is our gap conversion with the Auditor of State. We contracted with them, has begun. It's kind of funny too, because the second our fiscal year ends, I think they're waiting to click the button send, because they're like, oh, you can start doing this now. I'm like, oh man, we just closed the year. But it's all good, so. And those are the items I have. Thank you.
Okay, very good, thank you. Moving into Mr. Young, superintendent's
All right.
discussion.
Yes, for consideration on the consent agenda, I've got 9A and B, 10A, B, and C, and 11A, B, and C.
Okay, entertain a motion for those items, please.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Apathy. Are we going to go right down the line? And yes, we are. Mrs. Decker?
I'll second.
Seconded. Okay, Mr. Young.
All right, the first is a modification to the district calendar that was originally approved on January 7th of 2026. This is a practice we're going to start doing anytime we revise the district calendar. We want to make sure that we approve the modification. It helps with some of our auditing purposes on the back end. The only change right now is the middle school and high school orientations were scheduled for Monday, August 10th. These are now moving to Wednesday, August the 12th. They will not conflict with the new elementary school family orientation. They're all staggered so that if you're new to the district and you've got a member at each level, you can make all three. So that's the only revision on that particular item. Letter B, this is just a reformatting of our miscellaneous pay rate schedule. The current schedule, just to explain how it works, is when we have a new item, we just add it to the end. It becomes item number 23 or item number 24 and 25. So there's no organization to it. It's the next new item. So for formatting purposes, and this really helps somebody like myself, it's nice to have, we're not changing any rates, but you'll see like administrative and office support is category 1. So if there is a new item to be added there, we'll just add it to that category, and it just becomes the next thing in that category. You know, if your instructional items, your facilities and maintenance items, transportation, events and activities, and then you have others. So it's just adopting a new format that helps with the organization of these particular items. So no changes. Number 10A, this is a mentorship opportunity for Sunny Spadar to mentor James Keck, our new mid-shift custodian. The mentorship is required by contract and it's best practice. The rate is at $250 over the course of the mentorship opportunity. Letter B, this is to hire Devin Gorman as a bus/van driver. She'll start off as a van driver. She's currently in our cafeteria working 4 hours a day. This is an opportunity for her to pick up more hours. And the goal would be to start her off as a van driver, middle of the shift, if you will. So actually cafeteria is in the middle of the shift. Before that, you could drive a van. After that, you could drive a van. And then to train her up throughout the year so that by 27, 28, hopefully we have another CDL driver. We've had several people in the past split time between transportation and the cafeteria. So this is an opportunity for us to take advantage of some internal folks. There's only one supplemental position under 10C, and this would be your assistant golf coach. We have enough students sign up to allow us to have a JV team. All right, so that's for Mr. Rademacher. 11, this is our annual renewal of our social studies curriculum for 4th grade. It's Ohio as America, which is developed by Ohio History Connection, and the cost is $1,007.50. This is the same cost as it was last year. Letter B, this is the Life Touch agreement for the elementary yearbook. The cost is going to be, it's up 50 cents from last year, primarily because we just, in order to get the lower rate, you have to sign up to sell more than 150 books. And last year, we did not approach that number. And if you sign up to sell that many books and then you don't, you have to cover the gap. So it's best to say we're just going to make you pay 50 cents more and then not be at a deficit. So it's safe. I think $18.25 is a fair rate up from $17.75. Finally, letter C, this is Raptor Technology Smart Pass system. It's a digital hall pass system that's going to allow us to bring a little bit more order and efficiency to accounting for students when they use a restroom or they go to a teacher to get tutoring or they get called to the office. Students will sign out using a Chromebook and a passcode, and then they sign back in when they return to class. So we're going to do more than just attendance monitoring. This is also going to allow us to track our different interventions that we do, tutoring opportunities, ACT prep. We have kids sign in and sign out so that we can just know what our kids are participating in, not just during the school day, but outside the school day. And the goal is to use, so the state provides us with success and wellness dollars as well as DPIA funds based on our basically our economically disadvantaged students. And this fits our PBIS program, and so we will, at the end of the year, we'll write it off as DPIA funds, so it won't come out of the general fund at the end of the day, right? I mean, it's the school, the state,
It's restricted funding that we
Yeah,
have to
restricted.
use for these types of
yeah.
issues.
So state gives us the funding, and we have to
Correct.
use it for certain purposes, and this would allow us to use it with those purposes. And those are all the items.
Okay. Any questions? Superintendent? Hearing none, treasurer, please call the roll.
Mrs. Apathy?
Aye.
Mrs. Decker?
Aye.
Ms. Pajeska?
Aye.
Mr. Rossi?
Aye.
Mr. Soucek?
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Moving on to section 13, superintendent discussion and comment.
Yeah, I just have two quick things. First, so there was a policy we passed, I believe it was about a year ago, that allowed the superintendent to make technical corrections to board policy without us undergoing a formal adoption, but there still has to be a discussion about it. Mrs. Scotton, who's the dean of students who resigned, she was one of our compliance officers, and her name is in policy. I need to remove her name from policy. And so Neola will do that without official board action. However, there has to be a date that I informed you, because I can't just arbitrarily go around and changing board policy without you knowing it. So today is that date. I'm just letting you know I'm going to remove her name from approximately 7 policies that reference her. Okay? There's still myself as a compliance officer, Mr. Burek as a compliance officer, and if I want a third, ideally I would like to have a female compliance officer as well. I'm going to need to train somebody over the course of the year, and if we get that person, then we will get them approved. Okay? Second thing is annually we are required to publicly state that we are receiving feedback on how to spend our federal grant dollars, correct? That's Title I, Title II, Title IV. Title III we don't have a lot, as well as the IDEA dollars for special education. We're right now in the process of modifying and trying to tighten up the grant funding application. Right now we have a substantially approved date, which means that the state is going to award us the dollars. Now we have to discuss how we're going to be using the dollars. And if anybody has questions about that, either on the board or from the public, they can notify me or they can notify Mr. Burek about those dollars. Again, Mr. Muccio mentioned that specifically for IDEA and for Title I, a lot of those dollars are tied up in staff. So there's not a lot of movement with the other dollars. Professional development tends to be the primary use of those, so that we don't have to dip from the general fund, but we welcome any comment over the next couple months that people may have on federal grant dollars. Those are the only 2 items.
Okay.
Bless you.
All right, moving on to section 14, board discussion and comments. Anyone have anything? I do have one item. I was able to attend the Ohio Association for Career Tech Education Convention, and they gave me this little brown plaque, and I'm not sure why, but I think everybody got one. It's not that I won, but it's something. But I learned 2 things that really stood out as part of that conference. Number one, we are clearly a member of one of the absolute best career tech districts in the state of Ohio. I went to 2 presentations about great things that these 2 other districts were doing, and I'm saying to myself, what took you so long? We've been doing this for years. Right? So Cuyahoga Valley, we are very fortunate. Cuyahoga Valley is one of the best districts in the state of Ohio. So that was one thing that jumped out. The other thing that jumped out is, of all of the sessions I attended, and there were a number of interesting sessions. It certainly was worth the time to be there. But the one that I found the most interesting, and the one that had one of the bigger attendances for for one of the side sessions and not the main session, was the one on AI again. It just seems that every conference I go to, the AI sessions are crowded, they're good. You walk out with some very valuable information. I put it to use. I was there last week. Today I put some of that to use in something I did at home from a personal viewpoint. And it was great. It worked. It really helped me do a better job using AI, which I don't use on a daily basis for sure. But when I do need it, it's very helpful. So it was very worthwhile to learn that stuff. So if anybody wants more information on that, I'm happy to share it with you. We got fancy stuff like this, but that's, it looks good. But again, these are things that Cuyahoga Valley Career Center is already doing. And here they are bragging about new things that are implemented. So. Okay, that's all I have about that. And if nobody else has anything, we'll move on to future agenda items. Anyone? Okay. Informational items. Should be noted that Board of Education members receive their agendas several days prior and have time to study and so on. Upcoming board meetings, all on Mondays at 6 p.m. We have August 10th work session, August 24th regular meeting, and that's after school starts, right? And then Monday, September 14th, we get a couple-week break because of Labor Day. Okay, at this point, I hereby move that the board adjourn to executive session pursuant to ORC 121.22G1 for the purpose to consider employment, appointment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official, or the investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual, unless the public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual requires a public hearing. I made that motion. May I have a second, please?
I'll second. Pete?
You're gonna get it to Pete?
Yep.
Okay, Mr. Rossi, you got the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, treasurer, please call the roll.
Mr. Zuchaki,
Aye?
Mr. Rossi,
Aye.
Mrs. Apathy,
Aye.
Ms. Pajeska.
Aye.
Mrs. Decker.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. It is 7:34 p.m. There will be no action taken when we reconvene.